The Collective Whisper Podcast with Simon Kane. Hello everybody, welcome to today's show. I'd like to welcome Ruth Dillon from Clonmel, but now living in Galway, who is with us here today. Tipperary-born Connemara-based singer-songwriter Ruth writes reflective and melodic songs driven by poetic lyrics. With a musical style steeped in folk and roots, she has a sweet, emotive voice and was described by Irish music magazine Hotpress as a real gem. Ruth has had a busy and colourful career to date. She toured for 5 years as a singer with renowned Irish artist Dolores Keane and has released her own solo CDs, Silent Thief and Woken, compiled of her own songs. Currently, Ruth is one member of esteemed folk band The Rains alongside Yvonne Tiernan and Juliana Erconen. They were voted in the top 10 Irish gigs of 2019 by the Sunday Independent's Barry Egan. Okay, so welcome to the show, Ruth. How are you?
I'm great, Simon. And how are you doing?
Very good, very good. Keeping well. Keeping the good side out, as they say.
Yeah. Well, that's all you can do. That's all we're all doing, isn't it? For no matter where we are in the world, I suppose we're all in the same boat. And getting through it day by day, really, isn't it? It's kind of like just whatever it's thrown at us, we're just taking it day by day. Well, I am anyway.
Yeah. So Ruth, you're in Invern, aren't you?
I am. I'm out in Invern, which is on the outskirts of Galway. It's Connemara, actually, you know, but it's not too far. It's just past Biddle there. So you're talking about, what are we? About 25 kilometres from Galway City. A beautiful area out here. I married a man from Salthill, actually, Darren McGee, and but he had a house out here, so I moved out here to Invern. So here I am in the middle of the Gaeltacht, and you know, it's an beautiful Irish-speaking area. My little son, who's 8, beautiful Irish, oh my God, the blast, you know. But I don't have the Irish. It's terrible, you know. I don't have enough, anyway.
I was going to ask you, were you a Gaeilgeoir, but is your husband a Gaeilgeoir?
Well, he's a Gaelic speaker. He's an amazing. He grew up in Salthill, but his whole family, even in Salthill, which isn't an Irish-speaking area per se, but his mom brought them all up through Irish. So he has a different blast to the locals here. But it's an Irish-speaking house, except for me. I try, but you know, my little son just says to me, "Mom, speaking English." In other words, because I'm from the south of Ireland, so we you know, it's a completely different dialect there, you know, and pronunciation, of the word.
In Tipperary, is there like a Gaeltacht there? No.
Well, actually, there's a few areas around. I'm not sure Tipperary, but very close to the Tipperary and Waterford, which is we're on the border with Waterford, Ring, and a very, very strong Gaeltacht areas around there for sure. Yeah. But you wouldn't, growing up, you wouldn't hear it. You know, not in Clonmel, in the town. No.
Yeah. So were you born in Clonmel? I know you grew up there, but were you born there?
Born in Clonmel, born and raised in Clonmel, beautiful town in South Tipperary, and it really is. It's called Vale. It's Clonmala, Oscuelga, and that's the Vale of Honey. So famous for its honey. And I didn't realize at the time, when you're right in the centre of Clonmel, when I go down there now and I look around, it's just mountains all around. It's beautiful. It's a valley, you know. So it's lovely, lovely town down there.
And, you know, was it like, were your parents from the town, or did they move to the town, or were they all are there generations of you there?
No, not at all. No, moved to the town. My mom is originally from Galway, and my brothers were born in Galway, and my dad originally from Kilkenny. And he worked in ESB, so he was moved there. And that's why we ended up in Clonmel.
Wow. Yeah. And what was it like growing up in Clonmel? I mean, because obviously, you know, the hard drinkers in Ireland will know Bulmers from Clonmel and everything. So that was funny, because Clonmel was known, but when Bulmers became big, it propelled Clonmel into another kind of league, didn't it?
It did, of course, yeah. It's funny, it's there. It's Magners now is written outside, actually. They've changed the name of it. But yeah, Bulmer is very famous. That's what Clonmel would be very famous for. When we were young, like I remember, you'd be out quite young having a few and big flagons of Bulmers and all this thing. And I hated, I to this day, I can't really, don't tell anyone, I can't really say cider at all anymore, and everyone loves it. But yeah, apples are a big thing in Clonmel. Really is, actually, because I remember like there are just orchards everywhere, and of course down in Bulmer's orchards everywhere. And but it was a lovely town actually to grow up in. Really, really, really safe, and it felt at the time. I don't know. I'm away from it a long time now, and still beautiful. I love going home. Love going back to Clonmel. Still, my mom is down there, and my brothers are there. So it's a great place to visit, and it's beautiful. The whole area around it, as I said, mountains. And when you drive through, it's called the V, and there's beautiful. It's full of trees, so different to where I am now. Here it's very stony, beautiful, a different landscape completely. And Clonmel is trees and lush and green, and that's a beautiful.
And I was talking to one of my guests there a few weeks ago, and we were talking about being young and going into the orchards and stealing the apples, and you
Yes.
kind of try to justify it by bringing home some cooking apples for your mother, and she'd be like, "Where did you get those?" And you'd be like, "Oh, I just got them," and she'd be like, "I hope you weren't in that orchard."
Yeah.
So,
but it's for you, Mom.
Yeah, it's for you, Mom. It's like when the cat brings the dead mouse to you.
Oh.
But it's for you.
Yes. I know. I have a scar on my back, which I'm not going to show you now. From being in an orchard when I was young, and we jumped over this fence and barbed wire, and I slid down a thing and barbed wire. So I have a scar down my back from robbing the old apples in Clonmel. But there were different times. I feel so old now, but I just think such beautiful times. I've just been talking to people from Clonmel, and like there was no phone. Thank God there were no phones. We were just out from morning to night, as I'm sure. You probably remember yourself. Just great times.
I'm sure they have some of the best orchard thieves in Clonmel, probably.
I'm sure they have. There must be a band called the Orchard Thieves, surely.
Yeah.
Or there should be.
It's funny because in Spain here they have a cider. And it's called Ladrones de Manzanas, and it's a picture of a fox, or I think it's a fox on the front. But it's because cider wouldn't be a very big drink here. They have their own sidre, which is Spanish, but the cider Bulmers Magners has a different taste to their one. But now in the last few years here, that Spanish cider has become much bigger here, and it's kind of influenced by Magners. And because obviously I remember when we were younger, you'd drink Magners, but you'd also drink Taunton and all these English ciders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I've travelled in France through with the music and that, and there's a lot of cider there, or in America. And in America, a lot of the times there's no alcohol in it. Cider isn't an alcoholic thing in America. It's more that the kids drink cider, So it kind of depends on where you are, for sure,
Yeah.
But I better say, Clonmel is the best anyway.
Clonmel is the best. But what, for you then, growing up in Clonmel, what, were you there till your late teens, or when did you move out of Clonmel?
Yeah, no, I was there until after the leaving in 18. And I came up here to Galway, actually, and I did it's funny. I did a course in hotel management, would you believe?
Okay. In GM or in the RTC?
No, because I was younger. I tell a lie, I was younger. I was very young starting school. So when I finished my leaving cert, would you believe it, I was only 16 and a half. So it was very hard to get into college or anything at that stage. So I did hotel management through the Ardenone Hotel for 3 years.
Oh, yes.
So I did every department and got my diploma that way. So it was interesting. It's not something I really, went further with, actually. But bartending stood to me. That area stood to me because, in America, I worked in bars and that kind of thing when I was a young one. But yeah, that's why that's when I came to Galway.
You came. So before you got to Galway and you were still in Clonmel and you were in your teens there. What was it? did you have a lot of fun growing up as a teenager there, or were you kind of saying, I can't wait to get out of it? What was it, an entertaining town?
Well, was it an entertaining town? I suppose for me, I didn't really know that I would pursue music as a career. So, and I'm not a traditional Irish musician. So, for me, in terms of music, it probably didn't have a lot of live music that I can remember that much, But I had great crack. I loved it. I absolutely loved my teens. I had so much fun. I just remember it being free and easy, and just a really happy time. But I have to say, I have a bit of a roving spirit. So I think, when the time came, I was dying to get out and just see the world and just see, what it had to offer. And so it wasn't so much that I wanted to escape something, or just that I wanted to explore something new,
Right.
I think that's what sort of sent me away. And I came to Galway, as I said, for 3 years, and then off to America straight. As soon as I had a chance, I went over to America for about a year, to Boston.
Wow.
And and that's actually where music started for me, because I bought my first guitar there. This is it. Would you believe?
Wow, you have that. Wow, it's brilliant.
I brought it back with me, and so I started writing songs really there, and then it's when I came back after the year that I started to Galway again, that I got a band together and started playing music really from there.
Wow. So did you, like when you were in Clonmel and you were growing up, did you kind of, to escape the school and everything, did you have like, side jobs, or did you do other things, babysitting, or, side hustles?
I did actually. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that for a long time. I did. I babysat, and I worked all the time, actually. I did part-time jobs in a bookshop in Clonmel. And at the time, I wasn't even the best reader in the world. Now I am.
Yeah.
I really wish I had done it all along. I love reading now. It's great escape. So I was in a bookshop, and I was in a jewelry shop, which I love jewelry. So that was good too.
Yeah, that was
part-time,
nice.
So I did that part-time, and just, hung out a little bit, and always sang throughout the years. I was always in some sort of a musical or something, when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Oliver, or I was, all the things, singing competitions when I was young. I can't remember what they were called, but I remember always being in these singing competitions and Irish dancing and this kind of. So I was always in that. I was always on the stage. Really.
Yeah. But that's good. It kind of led you to another thing. And when you left school, then were you, did you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to go to college now, or I want to work, I want to get away from school entirely? What was your kind of thinking process as about leaving? Did you leave Clonmel and think, okay, I want to travel, or did you think, were your parents saying to you, no, you have to go to college? What was that conversation?
No, it wasn't like that, actually. And I think the reason that is because of how young I was, and so I really didn't have many options. I was very young. Like I laughed to my mother. I said, "Why did you send me to school?" So I think it was about 3.5 when she sent me to school first.
Wow.
Because I did my leaving, and I was 16 and a half when, or 17 when I finished, 16 and a half. So it was very hard, as I said, to get into, I didn't have choices of colleges because I was kind of too young. But I didn't really know. I was too young to really know what I wanted, I think, to be honest, Simon. I was just kind of like, so hotel management, I'm a sociable person. I think my mother saw that in me, and she kind of encouraged me, maybe this is an angle you could go, and this is, so, so that's, I think, why I ended up moving away. But yeah, I don't think it was anything to do with, wanting to leave there, or wanting to not study or anything like that. I just, but probably I would have preferred to explore the world than study. I had a bit of as I said, I had a bit of a roving spirit, I think. Just wanted to get out there and enjoy the world or something. Yeah.
And because you had been working in the Ardalon and kind of in hotel work, was that the first kind of place you looked when you went to Boston, towards the hotel, to continue that, or did you change?
No, I didn't actually. That's where I au pair. I was minding children over there.
Right.
I went over with a friend of mine, Etna, and we were just so young, and just it didn't matter what we did, to be honest. But we started out as au pairs and living in with the family and all this kind of thing, and just dying to meet each other at the weekends, and we go out and have this great crack. And I ended up working in a bar there, and it was a great scene. I was still very young. I think I was too young to be in a bar, not to mind working in the bar, but they didn't know that. Swear to God. But the tips were amazing, and I loved it. It was a great old life over there. Met great people. A lot of Irish people, Boston, of course, and the Irish look after their own. In some ways, I was a little bit not disappointed. I mean, it was so great to meet so many Irish people there, but I always think about that and think, I wish I had kind of branched out. I was very young, and I loved the kind of cocoon of Irishness around me, probably. But I suppose I didn't really get to experience other cultures as much as I'd like to have over there. I've been back to America loads of times, but in terms of living there, it was just, it was the Irish scene, and everyone out to the pub and drinking, and you know what I mean.
Yeah,
sure. Look, it's great old crack all the same.
That can happen, because for some people, whether they go to America or Australia or the UK, sometimes they get so caught up in the Irish scene, and they're like, they have this sense of freedom, but another part of them wants to be around the kind of people they know and that kind of culture. And then sometimes when they come back, they have regrets, because they're like, oh, I had a great time, but I didn't see enough of the country, or I didn't go outside that circle as much as I should have. And I think it happens to a lot of people, because you kind of tend to go, it's a bit like a Chinatown kind of syndrome. Everybody comes together, don't they?
They do. And it's very understandable, I think, because the Irish do stick together a lot too. It's very I'm watching the matches in the pubs and all that kind of thing, the reminders of home and the singing and all that kind of thing, and that's beautiful. I think that's really nice in one way. I didn't realize other people felt like this. I never delved into it too much, but I do remember that was a slight regret of mine, is that maybe it was unavoidable, I don't know, but that I sometimes used to see people there, and they probably loved it, but that they were working there on building sites or working really hard, and I used to think that all they saw was kind of people from home and everything, so they might as well have been at home. But I suppose we're earning money. They were earning money. We were earning money. I was one of them. But I used to hop on the train sometimes and go out to Cambridge or places just on my own, and just try and meet other people and see other things and that. Yeah, it was a good time.
And one thing I never asked you, obviously, in your family in Clonmel, how did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, 3 older brothers and 1 younger sister.
Okay, yeah. And were any of them in America when you went, or were you the only bird to fly the nest?
At that time, the only one. But I had they all travelled at different times in their lives. So I have a brother, Des, who lived in Australia for a year. He's an artist, and I have a sister now, Lorraine, who lives now in America. She's in San Francisco. Okay. She's been there. She's married there for 20 years, and so she loves it there. And it's a great place to be. And she's kids there and everything. And my 2 other brothers, one went over for a little while to America as well, but they're all based back in Clonmel now and in the surrounding area. So but I wasn't the only one.
No, and that's good. And I think in bigger families especially, they're sometimes the older ones go before and pave a path, and then other times nobody goes, and then the youngest one goes, well, I'm going, and I don't care about anyone else.
I do see that. I think probably maybe I'm wrong. In my family, I feel like I was slightly wilder, maybe known to be slightly wilder in the family, so I probably had it.
You probably more. Still are.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I am though. No, I think that's gone. I think the older I get, the more sensible I get. Unfortunately, when you've children as well and stuff like that, things change. But in some ways, I think it's always there in your head. A little bit of a wild spirit, I hope.
Yeah. So the with the music, obviously, what age did you start playing music?
Well, I suppose, as I said earlier, that I've been kind of singing and I played piano when I was small. I learned piano and went to piano lessons and everything. Didn't play guitar or anything like that. Sang all the time. I photographed of myself in the little school band and choirs and singing, so it was always part of what I did. But then when I was in America, when I moved over there first, when I was, whatever it was, 17, 18, 19, I bought my first guitar. And then that's when I started writing songs, but kind of late, really, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things. And then I came back to Galway, and actually I worked in Monroe's bar for a little while. Remember Monroe's?
Yeah, Monroe's in the corner, yeah.
Yeah, a guy called Speedy used to run it there. And
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. He kind of revolutionised it. It was a great old place. And it was International Women's Day, and he had heard me singing, just joining sessions, and he said, "Can you throw a band together for Thursday night? It's an International Women's Day," and whatever. And I said, okay. So I just literally kind of put a band together, and that's when I started International Women's Day. I can't remember the actual year, but it's about 25 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
And
did you have, when you were doing the musicals in school and singing with the hairbrush in front of the mirror and all that kind of thing, did you have a style? Was there, who was your favorite artist when you were a teenager?
Oh my God, no, I didn't really. Not for me. I didn't have a style in terms of what I sang. I didn't know what I wanted to do really, but I did have favorite singers for sure. I loved David Bowie.
Okay,
would have been one of my favorites. Prince. Yeah. But across the board, I grew up in the 80s, so it was kind of all that sort of. Who else would I have liked? Now I don't know. They would have been my two favorites anyway. There, I think. Yeah. Blondie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's it, because no matter how hard, I think even, the modern day musicians and younger people, I think when people look back, the 80s were such a special time for music. And now most of the modern pop songs are ripping off everything from the 80s. So it just shows you how good it really was, because they weren't even around, but they're going, wow, that's a great song. Let's steal the hook from that. Yeah. So I think even in 50 years, when we're all gone and people look back, the 80s are going to be a very special time to remember, no?
Well, I think so. I agree with you. I don't know if everyone will. I mean, probably everyone, as time goes on, thinks that a certain decade, I'm sure people, the way people were talking about the 60s or, the Beatles and all of that, and the 70s, what would have been disco, all that kind of, the 80s were definitely, I think there was something changing in the 80s. I think the new wave and there was just the punk, the kind of stuff.
I think what it was, the 80s was a mix of everything that came before and everything that was coming, if you know what I mean. Because I read there recently that they said the most, when you look back now over the last 40, 50 years, the biggest year for music was in 1991, 1992, I think it was, because all of the biggest selling albums come out, rock albums like, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all these huge selling bands, and they all come out in 1 year. So they when they kind of look at more the rock side, they say that was a huge year for music. But then the 80s was more about pop, and coming out of the 70s, which was kind of the rock and roll. I think the 80s was a melting pot for everything kind of to come in the 90s and what had to come before.
Good point, actually. I think you're right there. Yeah. I think, and you had the Michael Jacksons and the thing, that were kind of, still doing the disco thing, but kind of, as you say, kind of going into the 90s or going into, that's a good point.
So did you, when you were started singing, and obviously when you went to America and you bought the guitar, was your musical style changing? Were you getting more into folk, or was it still pop? You were?
Folk. No, folk. I think folk country almost. Folk country. John Prine. I think John Prine really sticks out in my mind. I bought his album, or someone bought me his greatest hits, I think it was at the time, in America. In that first time when I bought this guitar. And oh my God, he just blew me away. I would cry and laugh and everything. And all his songs were just amazing, and he still does. Like when I hear his songs, they're just beautiful. But yeah, so I would have been listening to. I was still listening to. I remember being, having the windows down in America and listening to Prince or whatever it was at the same time. But I do, in terms of playing, I suppose, myself. I wasn't going to be playing any Prince songs anytime soon, so it was kind of more folk. And I suppose I started writing in a kind of a gentle folk way.
And obviously, John Prine, it was a great influence on a lot of people, and it's a sad loss, obviously, because when you look back through artists who have died during COVID, his name kind of sticks out there, and it's such a shame. I mean, he was such a great artist. But when you look back as well, was there any women singers, folk singers, that stood out for you as you kind of went, you were not idolizing them, but they were influencing you greatly?
Good question.
Janis Joplin, or a kind of...
Not really, actually.
Really, no.
And I was talking to someone only the other day about the Janis Joplins and the not really. I mean, I heard that big voice. I don't have that big voice, so maybe that's why I couldn't see myself in that way, if you know what I mean. But definitely, there's a woman called Dory Previn. I don't know if you know of Dory Previn. Great. I love lyrics. So lyrics would be, for me, nearly more than the vocals, So you hear someone like John Prine, he wouldn't have the best, technical voice, but the emotion that he gives in a voice, and that always kind of, and the words. So for me, that would have been Dory Previn, would be a very, she's an amazing lyricist. So I would have listened to a lot of her stuff. And
Joni Mitchell, would Joni Mitchell have influenced you a bit?
Joni Mitchell, yeah. I mean, I loved Joni Mitchell, but again, I didn't even get the album Blue. I mean, but anytime I hear stuff, you just think, oh my God, she was just, she was amazing. She was before her time. She was just so incredible.
She always sticks out for me because, I never was a huge fan. I mean, I always loved her music, but I never delved hugely into it. But I mean, her songs stand the test of time, and even sometimes when you hear other people singing them, and you're like, oh, that's an amazing song, and then that's a Joni Mitchell song, and I mean, just amazing, And I think she's one of these artists that I only discovered lately that part of the reason for her kind of quitting music was the whole image-based artist, She said, oh, you want me to do this and you want me to do that, that's fine, I quit, and she had a great career, but for her it was all about the music. She was thinking, I don't want to be marketing, I don't want to be doing this, I want to sing.
Yeah, but you could see that. I mean, you could see it, you could hear that or if you see any, in Sky Arts on telly, they put on great documentaries on different singers, and she was on recently, and it was just all about how, she was, way ahead of a lot of people in terms of her guitar style, and she was amazing. Like, she wasn't just sitting pretty in the front and just, she was saying stuff. She was really working on her guitar style and her, and she was right up there. I mean, obviously, I love the Bob Dylans and the, it seems to be more male kind of focused. Leonard Cohen, it's a bit obvious, all of the ones, but again, it's kind of the lyrics, I suppose, for me is the thing that gets me. But
like, obviously, when you started learning guitar, you were, following, John Prine and those artists. But was there any kind of guitar players, like bluegrass pickers or folk kind of guitar pickers, that you kind of thought, wow, I love their style? Did you follow a particular style of guitar playing?
I don't know if I did. I don't know. Not then. Not then. Then was just like learning how to play the damn thing. It was just like getting the chords down, and maybe John Prine, he does a lot of that flat picking or finger picking thing. So for that time, and a few of my songs actually would be. I have a few kind of finger picking ones. Maybe that's where I got that from. In terms of bluegrassy styles, I didn't really get into bluegrass until a few years ago here in Galway. And that's when I kind of delved more into, picking out the tune of the thing as well as the singing and that kind of, so at the time, not really in terms of guitar, I mean, as much as I loved, the lovely finger picking stuff. I loved, a good solo as well, from a rock. I love these. Even if you hear Prince now, here we go, Prince again, but some of his guitar stuff is unbelievable. Like, just, yeah, incredible.
The thing about Prince was when he was out and he was like very pop kind of based, people didn't look at his guitar skills or his musical skills as much. It was later when he kind of had less success and people look back, they were like, oh my God, like, did you ever hear him do that solo? Or did you? And we realize now when he's gone how amazing he was as a musician.
Genius. He was a genius. I think a genius musician. I think he. I think every part of his body played that guitar or sang that song or wrote that song. I think he was kind of a genius, really, at what he did. Yeah, slightly crazy, but
well, that's it. I think it's hard to have the balance all sides if you have that gift.
Yeah.
And for you then, say going back to when you picked up the guitar, were you kind of like just using these 3-chord books, or how did you teach yourself, or did you have someone to teach you, or what did you do?
No, and there was no YouTube or anything back then. No, I didn't. How did I teach it? So I bought the guitar in America, and I was just I think someone had showed me G, C, and D, the 3-chord trick. and I kind of, and I'd find a little melody and I'd play it again. It would sound, thought it was great. I'm sure it was awful at the time, but I thought it was great. And then, but when I came back to Galway, and there were, Galway's, sure, look, you couldn't go wrong in Galway if you're a musician. There are sessions where there were, at that time, sessions everywhere. So Taylor's Bar would have been one of the main places that I went to for music and for entertainment, for everything. It was a great place. But there were always these music sessions at the back, acoustic. And I remember being very welcomed there, and I would just go along and I would just have a guitar quietly in the back, and someone would say, sing a song, and I would. And then I would, I learned not to play over everyone, just learn. So I kind of learned how to play by watching other people and asking, how did you do that? How did you do that? And picking up little tricks here and there, and and meeting brilliant musicians who kind of showed me, I suppose. Yeah.
Do you think that whatever you started in Boston, because you got the guitar there, do you think that once you got to Galway, it was a whole new level?
For me, that I
for your learning.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In Boston, I wasn't really meeting the musicians. I just happened to learn a couple of chords and a few chords, but here I would just go in, and it's hard to explain Galway, isn't it, when you're not here, when you're from here. But it really is amazing in terms of or was. I don't know if it's the same anymore. I don't know if it has that.
You know what it is? Somebody said to me one day, the thing about Galway in the late 80s and the 90s, and like even now, but I mean, the late 90s were some of the best times there, and the mid 90s. But what it was, there was some kind of very spontaneous, impromptu things. And you could be, it doesn't matter if you were busking and then you went into a pub or the cafe or Java's or somewhere, and a session would start. But the thing is, if you went looking for that stuff, sometimes they were hard to find. Because they were just spontaneous. And now I think obviously the way music's changed, and people have got a lot older and different. Even before COVID, probably you couldn't find this. You can find the sessions, but a lot of characters are gone too, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of the characters are gone, but I think as well as that, I think you see, for those acoustic sessions, a lot of the times, maybe two of the musicians would be paid. So I was that musician for a long time, say in the Crane Bar or something. Myself and Bernie would be paid to play on a Saturday night, but you would have 12 musicians who came in and sat around, and we all shared and sang and did, so we were the focus point, but everyone came in and that was Galway for a long time. Now those acoustic sessions are they're dwindling a little in Galway.
Yeah.
They're not really there anymore, and it's a really sad thing, because they were amazing. And you were sitting, you turn around and you're sitting beside John Prine, or or you turn around and next minute it's like, hush, 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 Liam O'Mahony's about to start a song. It was just so easy and not forced, and it was just there. You know what I mean? And
and the crane was like magical, because you'd just go up some night, you know, and it'd be like 11:30, 12, and everybody well into it. And you look around the room and you see Mick Lally, and you could see John Prine. You see these faces, and you're like, is this real? It's a bit surreal. All the things that but it was great in a sense because those people weren't hassled when they were in there. They just relaxed and nobody bothered them.
That's exactly it. That's what you hear that often about, I suppose, Ireland, you know, the beauty of, you know, people can walk down the street and not be hassled, but absolutely, you would, someone would walk in and I remember being in I think it was the Pump House or somewhere, that pub down, it's gone now again. Good, there you go. And I remember Tommy Tiernan walked in and I had known him vaguely from before and I just said, will you get up and do a set? And he gets up halfway through and just, we take a break and he gets up and does a big set. And he was just on the cusp of kind of his the way he is now, you know, well known or whatever.
Yeah.
And of course now I'm singing songs with his wife. That's another story. I know him well now, but at the time,
but it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing the way. I don't want to say it's destiny or it's fate or whatever, but it's amazing how things come round full circle sometimes. And there's especially in Galway, you know, it's a very small circle, and obviously with Tommy Tiernan and Hector doing so well and everything with their podcast, and then with Tommy on his own show. But I mean, it's amazing. I'm sure they look back even and go, we were two Navan lads and here we end up in Galway. For me, sometimes Galway seems to be a little bit of the Mecca. I mean, it brings people together. Even if they're not from Galway, it puts them together and magical things happen sometimes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But, you know, like on a more serious note, I remember being, when I came to Galway first, you know, and more when I started playing music and people, I often heard this expression, you know, that Galway is the graveyard of Ireland or something, or the creative graveyard of Ireland, something to that effect. I can't remember now the expression, but meaning, you know, you got here and all these things happen in the sessions, happen in the, you know, but in terms of, you know, going to the next level to reach, the radio stations and going to break America or whatever it was. A lot of people got stuck here, and that's true. You know, that can happen. Maybe that happens in many cities, but I know it's a very special place. And
well, you know, the thing I think about that is, well, I do agree that, you know, obviously not enough acts came out of Galway that would be considered, you know, or in comparison to Dublin, you know, or Limerick, even with the Cranberries. But what I always think is when you look back at U2 and the Cranberries, it wasn't Irish people that really discovered them, it was Americans. And then they told us about it, because there's always that little bit of begrudgery here where it's kind of, we can't get away from it, where if you say to somebody, oh, they're a brilliant band, you should support them, and people are like, oh, yeah, and then it takes them to be big somewhere else in order for people to go,
whoa,
they're ours. So unfortunately, that thing is there, and I think there have been great acts in Galway over the last 30 years or so. But the problem is maybe that they don't have that pathway to success that they would have had in Dublin.
It's that, and also it could be that there's so much talent here. Like I kid you not. Like I just think sometimes there's so much, and you know, like Galway, I suppose, is perceived maybe to be a small, and it is kind of a small. It's a small city. You know, it's almost a town. Like, with a lot of talent here, and it's kind of like, you know, it's hard to find. Though I know myself, you know, through the years, and trying to find the way into places, it's kind of hard. You almost get there, and then how do you keep that momentum going without money? And you know, it's a funny old business anyway. The music business, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Business it's a hard game, and the thing is, you know, the great thing about it is, like, if people didn't love music so much and the arts, I mean, people wouldn't bother with it because it's too much work. And if you look back and say, oh, how much money did we make in those 20 years? A lot of successful musicians would go, we didn't make that much.
No.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
if you count in all the hours that you got the PA ready at home and you wrapped up the leads and you put the thing and you got the car and then got in the car and then you drove the 3 miles down to Carrick and Banno and you did the festival and then you know what I mean? If you count in if you were getting paid by the hour,
yes.
You know what I mean? It is, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, yeah.
So tell us, obviously then moving on for you, I know that when you went in 1996, you were in San Francisco, and that's kind of where things took a different turn for you, still with music, but in maybe not a way you had anticipated. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I was over in San Francisco, and I wasn't living there now or anything. I was just traveling there for about 3 weeks, and I was just in a bar, the Clown Stars, it's called, and I was invited on stage to sing. I was with a group of people, and then we were kind of at that stage I was kind of singing, a little bit, and I was invited. I sang a few songs, and when I came off stage, John Faulkner came up to me and said that he really enjoyed my singing. Who John Faulkner happened to be married to Dolores Keane, the very well-known Irish singer, and she was just about to record her new album, and he said, would I be interested in singing on the album when I came back to Ireland? And I did. I came back and I sang on The Night Owl, the album The Night Owl, and then from there until 2001, I was in Dolores' band for about 5 years. We travelled America and Europe and Ireland and England, Scotland, Wales. Yeah.
Was it for you, was it a daunting kind of process? Because obviously Dolores was such a fantastic singer, is a fantastic singer, but at that time, at the height of her success, it must have been pretty intimidating, no, to sing in front of her and to be asked to perform with her.
Yeah, I mean, it was. It was in one way, but if you know Dolores, you'll just know that she is one of the least intimidating people, really. I mean, she's as down to earth as it comes. And what I really liked was that she always promoted during that time I was really getting into my songwriting. I'd been to America, bought the guitar, and things were. I was kind of in the background doing the singing with Dolores, but writing my own songs. And she would always insist that at every gig that I would do a spot in the middle of her set on my own out there with a guitar or with one of the band or whatever, and sing my own songs. And that was amazing, because that for me, that was a ready-made crowd that had come to hear Dolores Keane, who got to hear my songs. And I have some amazing memories of that, and she was very gracious in that way, that she, gave that time to me. I remember I have a beautiful memory of being in Cambridge Folk Festival in England, huge, I don't know how many thousands of people out there in the audience who'd come to see Dolores, and it was the evening time, and it was whenever that is, was it August or something? And I remember she said, go out, and I was singing one of my songs. I was on my own with my guitar on this huge stage with this huge audience, and I just remember a hot air balloon. They were doing, in festivals there's always these little things you can do, and one of them was you could go hot air ballooning. So there were people in hot air balloons just rising above the crowds on this kind of red sky, and it was just amazing. I thought, oh my God, no mobile phone. Couldn't take a phone.
Lasers.
But I have it here. It was amazing. So it was a beautiful time. It was a great time to travel the world. I mean, I was still quite young and just really enjoying it, and getting to meet amazing, musicians and sing with great people, and it was lovely, Yeah.
And you sang on that Woman's Heart tour as well, didn't you?
I did. So that was the 10 years on Woman's Heart tour. So yeah, I was. I think each person who was involved. So there was Eleanor McAvoy and Maura O'Connell and Mary Coughlin and Dolores, and so they all could bring sort of someone with them from their own band, sort of thing, and then there would be a collective kind of band thing that they would sing together and everything at the end of the night. So Dolores, I was very, very chuffed that she asked me to come along and be part of that. So I did that, and that was fantastic as well. I mean, again, just getting to sing with all these great ladies on stage, and
and what obviously when you started with Dolores, did you have to change your singing style in any way? Because you were kind of, I suppose, at times you were doing a lot of harmonies with her and backing and stuff. So did you have to relearn how to use your voice with her?
I really did. That's no one's ever asked me that before. I really did. As I said earlier on, I'm not. I didn't come from a traditional background, really. Love traditional music and love traditional singers, but I just didn't. It wasn't something that I would have come from. So like coming from enjoying sort of pop music and folk music and all that, and then so for me, when I sing with somebody, I like to have the phrasing right, and I don't like it to be out of sync with them. You'll understand that kind of thing, Simon. You know what I mean? So to learn, so Dolores would do a lot of triplets in her voice and that kind of channel style, and she's an amazing voice, and it's kind of different. And so I had to kind of learn. I remember literally going over and over, listening to her singing all her songs, and just going, okay, she sings like that, and kind of getting to grips with how she sings a song, kind of thing. But great. I mean, that was another thing for me to add to my musical, whatever you'd say, equipment. I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean? It was
your portfolio.
Yeah. But also, no, I mean, also though, just, in terms of, I think now I probably add in some of those triplets to my songs that I have without even knowing it, because it's another thing that just, adds to your, yeah.
And, obviously, because, whether musicians have played with Dolores Keane or played with Prince or played with anybody, was it a process that you kind of at the beginning had to put a lot of work in on your own, or did Dolores help you a lot and coach you through it and everything, singing with her?
No, there was no coaching. That wouldn't be Dolores' style, and I don't mean that in any good or bad way. It just wouldn't be her style. It wasn't the way. I remember. So the first thing that John had asked would I sing on the album, and it was recorded in Limerick. I can't remember the name of the studios now, in Limerick, and I was put up in a lovely apartment, and we were all staying together and getting to know. I didn't know any of them, so getting to know Dolores and John and all the band and everything, and we would just go into the studio, and I was just like she would have sang a song, and I was just I suppose John Faulkner more than Dolores, actually. John was great. John would have coached me in terms of harmony. So I would have picked a harmony to do. I would have had time the night before, what would I do? And then I'd go into the studio, and he would be like, maybe you could try this, or will you put a third harmony here, or would you try? So I did that, and that was harmony is my favorite thing in the world. I harmonized all my life, love harmonizing. I think I could be a backing vocalist forever if I was given the chance. But so I think John coached me a little bit and would have told me maybe not use that one, use this one. But it was just a very gradual learning thing, really. Yeah, with Dolores. Yeah.
So obviously that was a great learning experience as well. And I mean, it was great that they gave you the chance to, pursue your own songs on the tour and like that, where you got a chance to try out your songs and see how they worked, if people liked them and so on. So when I know you did your first CD in 1999, Silent Thief, wasn't it? So was that something where like you came back off tour or finished the tour and thought, I'm going to record my own thing, and you kind of had that confidence from doing the tour?
I never thought it through very much, but I think that really is what it is. And I don't even know how confident I really was when I did that first album, but I knew that I had stuff to get out, and I had stuff that I want, and I'd written songs, and I was I suppose I was testing the waters and seeing sort of what sort of a musician am I, what sort of a songwriter am I. I've always I've always loved the English language. I've always loved poetry and writing, maybe poetry, and so I think for me it was just being able to write and then put music to that and see what it was like. Now my first album it's kind of a funny mishmash of I have an opera singer on there, and I have electric guitar on there, and I have acoustic, so it's kind of a mishmash of things. But it was great, fantastic experience. It was great crack altogether, and and being able to experiment. I remember Porrick Stevens, Porrick Stevens from he did the songs for the Sawdarks and everything. He came in and did some percussion, and I remember he had a bad back or something, and he was in the studio on the ground, and he'd brought a saucepan in, and he put water in the saucepan, and he was banging it and making these noises and everything, and just to get that one note, one little sound that he wanted in one of the songs. And
you recorded that in Black Rose, no, in Menla, no?
Aidan, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And was it a process like for that? Did you have a limited amount of time to do it? Like, did you have to go back out on tour, or could you take your time?
I took my time. Yeah, I took my time on that one, I think. But having said that, I can't even remember how long, but I knew sort of what I wanted to do with it. And I remember John Faulkner from Dolores Keane. This is where the experience comes in. He had shown me this kind of way of, if you're recording, how to keep an eye on everything you're doing. So I had kind of little graphs and stuff, to kind of show me what I had done and what instruments I wanted to bring in. And that was done. That was half done. That was, very interesting. And it was a great way to do it. And just experimenting. I just loved, I remember with the opera singer, I remember thinking there was one song it's called Afraid of the Dark. And I couldn't find a solo. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I just love this creative process, even if it's mad. And I remember just waking up in the night, in the night and going, what could it be? And then I thought, opera, maybe opera. And I know a friend of mine had a friend, she's from Okinawa, an island off Japan, and Eriko, and she put the opera on it, this mad opera solo and everything. So, just the whole creative process. I just love it. I still love it. I absolutely love it.
I can imagine you waking up in the middle of the night and you're doing the opera yourself, and you're like, this'll work.
Yeah, not quite. I can't quite go to those levels.
The neighbours were like, shut the hell up.
Yeah. I wish I could, Yvonne, actually, in the band, which we'll probably talk about, she trained to be an opera singer. So we might be doing that yet in the Rains. We might be.
You never know. You could take a new direction, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then, obviously, and then just moving on then to your second in 2005, Woken. Was that a different kind of? Did you approach it a different way with the songs and everything?
I think very different in a way. I think the first one was so experimental and the second one, very different. I went in on my own with these ideas of the songs kind of written. And Adrian Flatley was the song. It was his. Do you know Adrian?
I know Adrian. Yeah.
So it was his studio.
Great musician.
Great musician.
He's brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And he was great in the studio because I loved how he just. So I would sing my song and record this, and then he would just say, "What about you put da 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 da?" And he was very into it. He was very into experimenting as well. But it was much more pared back, much more mellow. I really thought about it, and to me, it would be much more sort of representative of kind of who I am. Maybe I think, or the time I was in at that time of my life. Maybe it's just it's a very kind of reflective kind of a CD. I think, yeah.
That's brilliant, yeah. And so when you look back kind of now with those albums, is which of those two albums would be kind of your favorite, or do you have a favorite?
I suppose Woken, the second one.
Yeah.
For that reason is that I feel I knew more about what I wanted to do. But then, you have to just really accept that I'm very proud of the first one because that was a place I was in, and I just even now, I'm recording again, and it's just, I think every album you do is just about the place you are in your life.
Yes.
And who you're surrounded by, and the music you're being influenced by. I think we change all the time. I certainly do. And so it slightly changes.
Yeah, and it's kind of a funny thing, but I've heard kind of bigger bands and they talk about, we were recording that album for a year or 6 months, and people say, and can you listen back to that album now? And they go, no, because I've played it so much live to death and everything. So some artists will say, I can't listen back to my songs or whatever. But then I heard another artist say one day, and he was kind of he was the first voice I heard from over the years of lots of different artists who had a different spin on it. And what he said was, he said, if you can't listen to your own songs, how do you expect anybody else to listen to them? And I thought, that's a good point. So even though people get sick of them, you should be able to put on your own song and go, wow, that turned out quite well, or, or not like, I can't listen to that,
Yeah. No, I think there should be absolute pride in what you do. There are times, when I think, for me, maybe it's an Irish thing, I get a little bit embarrassed, actually. If I go in somewhere and it's on the radio, or someone has, you're going to someone's house and they put on your CD for you and you're like, oh, God, please, no,
You know what it is? I always call that, it's too local. Like, for example, it's kind of like you could go out in front of 1,000 people and sing your song and have great confidence, but if you're at a party or a christening or something and someone hands you a guitar and say, play that song, your song, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do it now, I'll do a Bob Dylan song, and they're like, no, play your song. And then I always kind of think, it's crazy, isn't it? You think you'd be the most comfortable there, but sometimes not.
No, I know exactly where you're going with that one. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Like, if my family sat down and said, will you sing for us? Even if it's a cover, I'm just like, really? I don't think I find it very hard to, the smaller the number, the harder it gets, I think. Yeah, give me 10,000 any day, and it becomes blank. It becomes a bit, not that believe me, I have not had 10,000 very often, but do you know what I mean? It's just
it's just, I don't know what that is psychologically. Maybe we're not sure if those people are like really liking the song, or they're proud of us, or what the hell's going on. But they can be a tough crowd sometimes.
Very tough crowd, and I think it's a very it's because we know them so well, and we know, some of them we get on better with than others, and you are wondering, you're going through all their personalities, thinking, do they think I'm, what are they thinking of this? And it's because it's too close to the bone, maybe.
Well, I'm going to do the terrible thing and ask you to play a song now.
Okay, just at this time, really?
You see the way I worked that in? That was like a magic moment.
I see what you did there. Okay, I'd love to. And I'm wondering what to sing now after all my talks.
Wherever your gut tells you.
I think that's it, exactly, isn't it? I have a couple here of ideas, so I think I'll go with this is a finger picking one.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I'll just go a little bit closer now here so you can hear me. And it's called Be Gone, Be Gone. It's newish. Not recorded yet, that is.
Yeah, okay.
Every step I take makes me think again, makes me sink back in, makes me blue. Every stolen look that we both took reminds me how I shook when I saw you. We don't really know if there'll come a time I'll be yours, you mine. Is love unfair? Or will the years erase the memory of your face and take the sweet, sweet taste away somewhere? But there's no end to this, there's no stolen kiss. When I turn my face, seems like you know I can't stay long. So be gone, be gone. Don't wanna be the one to say goodbye. And as we turn to go on an autumn breeze, our footprints freeze on solid ground. Just keep walking on, be gone. gone. Maybe I'll see you around. But there's no end to this. There's no stolen kiss. And now I know I can't stay long. You know I can't stay long. So be gone, be gone. Don't wanna be the one to say goodbye. You know I can't stay long. So be gone, be gone. Don't wanna be the one to say goodbye.
Wow, really nice.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Lovely. Lovely sound.
Messed up my own words, don't you know?
No, anyway. No, don't worry. They're your words. You can mess them up as much as you like, you know.
That's true.
That's true.
no one can blame me for that.
You can only sue yourself.
Yeah.
That's lovely. It's a lovely song. So is that something that's you said you were mentioned there before? That's a new kind of idea, is it?
It's a newish idea. Now I wrote it. I think I started. This is unlike me. I kind of write songs usually. I get an idea and it's like, oh my God, I have to write a song about it fast. And this one I kind of wrote a few years ago, I think, and kind of looked at it again and just tweaked it here and there. Yeah, so it's kind of new.
What's your, tell us a little about your songwriting process. Like, I mean, do you get an idea and like do a little demo, or do you think, okay, I have to finish it now or I'll never finish it? How do you kind of go about it?
It varies actually, but like I feel like my best songs have been written very quickly, as in I get an idea, like I said, and I sit down with the guitar and that familiar question that I'm often asked, musicians are often asked, is it the song or is it the music or the words that come first? And I think that varies too. I might hear something. Often I hear a line and I think, I jot it down. My phone is full, my notes in my phone are full of these little lines that I think, oh, that would be great in a song. And I wouldn't know where I'm going to put it. And it might come in later on in a song, and that honestly has happened quite often. And then there's times when a melody just comes in. I'm just messing around with the guitar and melody comes in and the line comes along, there isn't really a process. In terms of, I have to get this down, I do kind of do a little demo. I don't have a studio here as such, but I'll do a little, I'll put it in my phone, rework it a little bit, go back to it. I'm constantly doing that and trying to get it all together as a song, and then maybe rewritten words and stuff. Yeah. Varies. It varies, yeah.
That's great. And so let's move on then, obviously, with the rains. You for anybody who hasn't listened to the Christmas podcast where you were on with the girls, or the ladies, we'll call them. I won't, maybe some people like to be called girls still, and some people like to be called ladies.
We don't mind what we're called, as long as it's nothing rude.
I mean, fair play to you. Come on, and you sang a few songs, and it was very good. And you told us the story how you met on the ferry, and it was brilliant, and you got together. So how is that evolving now, the rains? Because you had a successful single with Bare Feet on Grass, and your next one was the let me get the title now. It's the Love is a Sublime Gun, isn't it?
No, but you're nearly there. But we haven't actually. We're just recording that now as we speak. Yeah, but I don't know how you heard that. That's amazing. Yeah, it's called maybe. Oh yeah, okay.
No, you played that.
We played it. Yeah. So I'm wondering about that.
Yeah,
it's called Love is Sublime Till It Draws Out.
Sorry, that's it. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I remember half the title. But don't worry, I wasn't sneaking into your studio listening to you. I remember. No, and it's a great song. It was a lovely song too. And I think it'll do well for you. I think it'll do well.
I hope so. Yeah, we're just in the process now of recording that, and we're almost finished. Trying to do it all, remotely. It's kind of hard from each other's houses and that kind of thing. And as I said, I don't have a recording studio here, so I had to go to a local one, which is in my 5-kilometer radius, and had to have a COVID test going in, and then not seeing that, oh my God. But anyway, we have the guts of it down now, and it's just deciding on different parts and what we want to put in. But we're excited about it. Like the last single, Bare Feet on Grass. We have Brian Masterson up in Windmill Lane doing his magic on it. So we're really excited about it. He's amazing to work with, and I had a great chat with him earlier, and his ideas are great, and he really listens to what the musician wants and everything. And so we're excited about the new single.
Brilliant. And obviously, because I don't want to say you're a new band, but you're relatively new. I mean, you're not together that long, so you were very unlucky in a sense that the COVID kind of stopped a lot of your touring. And I know you played in January there in Dolan's. I watched that on YouTube. It was a great concert.
Yes. Thank you.
And so you've done a few kind of concerts without a crowd or an audience, and probably a few virtual gigs as well. So are you managing to kind of but to line up some gigs for the next few months? How's that going?
Yeah, we're trying our best to keep sort of, like you say, it felt like it was just starting for us. And as we're not, as a band, we're kind of relatively new, I suppose, and it's exciting. It just seems to have clicked and worked, and people were interested. And we had any gigs we've done so far have been completely sold out. We don't know what's going on. We can't get over it, and it's been amazing and a lovely time for us. And then COVID happened, as you said, but you can either mourn that and think, oh my God, or look forward, and that's what we've done. We've been in touch. We're constantly in touch. We're writing songs. We've done some videos, just our own little makeshift videos at home and that kind of thing during, especially last year before the single. And then we had the single Bare Feet on Grass, and that became number one, and the and the iTunes
charts. Just on the thing about the videos, one thing I've noticed on some of your Facebook posts, you'll definitely have to put the cow on the clothesline in one of the videos.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
It's
Love
brilliant.
That.
I mean,
that would be a good one.
It's so good, and it's so simple, but so clever.
I didn't do that, by the way.
Oh no,
that wasn't mine.
No, but I saw you had posted like one or two different ones.
Yeah.
I think I saw it on your one, but I thought to myself, that's really clever, and it's kind of practical art. But like
amazing. I keep thinking, it's funny you mentioned that, because I keep thinking, what could I make on the line there? My husband Dara is an artist, and my son is really artistic, and I'm sure between them now, and me, I love it too. We could come up with a few little animals there on the line.
There'll be some woman out there now, and she'll have her knickers on the line, and she'll say to the husband, "It's a dove. It's a dove."
Yeah.
And he'll say, "All I see is an off-white bra."
Yeah. Or they'll be all like, I recognise my clothes in Ruth's garden. They're all leopard print something to, I know.
Stealing the neighbours' dungarees.
Yeah. You'd never know now, Simon. I'll keep you posted on that one.
So, obviously, with the Rains now, and you're recording the second single, is there plans to just kind of record single by single, or are you thinking of an album?
Oh, definitely an album, and we have quite a lot of the songs written for an album. So it's kind of so ideally we'd love to be all in the studio together. It's hard. It really is such a different process. We were talking about recording earlier, to be separated, and you're not in there with the bass player going, oh, I love that line, or do that one again. This way we're sending it off, and somebody does bass, and then they send it to us, and we all have to listen to it in our own houses, and then we send it to Brian, up in Windmill Lane, and we're all wonder, so it's just so different and a little bit harder, but so for now we're going to do this single and maybe keep going, because we don't know how long before we can all be together in a studio where we could, maybe get a few songs down, and in a shorter period of time. But we're happy to go this way with it for now and keep writing. And we've plans to do. we have gigs that we want to honour, that we've already, whenever places open up again where we couldn't play. And we were to play in the Town Hall Theatre actually there a few weeks ago in Galway and do a streamed gig, but that was cancelled because of the lockdown again, level 5. So we couldn't be together in the same room. But we have that at the end of the summer, and we have a few things definitely in line, a few gigs that we need to get to. So as soon as we can, as soon as everything opens up, sure, everyone's going to want to play, but we'll be doing a tour for sure. Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, and obviously with when you're the recording process and you're doing it kind of remotely and everything, but that must be a little bit harder because you're a very kind of a harmony based group. So
yeah.
I know one time I used to play with these two girls, the two sisters, and the thing is they used to do lots of harmonies with each other, and obviously when you're learning harmonies and working out seconds and thirds and all, you need to be in the same room or you need to be kind of in that area. So it's much harder for you guys to record it unless you've previously worked out together. It's very hard to record it, no?
Very hard. That would be that's the biggest challenge because we're a very harmony based band, and I think that's going to be our signature kind of sound, really, and so a lot of songs we have, because we had worked up to having a full set anyway. We were doing gigs, so we have a lot of songs that we had previously worked out harmony wise. But even now, I spend a lot of time just putting down ideas. I'll send them to Yvonne. She gets an idea, she'll send it, as in just WhatsApping ideas to each other, and then when we get into the studio, it's just like we're hoping it works, but this song anyway, we pretty much worked out what we can do, or what we're going to do on it, and then we will mess around with some of the melody lines and send them all off to Brian, and we might put in a few extra things here and there and hope for the best. It's different, it really is different. But
well, I mean, with recording, thank God for modern technology. And, the thing about it is you can still, as you said earlier, experiment and do all these different things. The only thing is that you're doing a lot of it remotely now. But even WhatsApp and notes and all these kind of tools that you can say, hey, have a listen to this and, work a harmony out over it. I mean, if we didn't have that technology in this current COVID kind of crisis or scene, we'd be lost as musicians, no? And as everything.
Completely. Completely. I mean, besides even trying to create and make an album or to work out harmonies, I mean, where would we be without music and art and, like in the last year, really and truly, like, you think, where is everyone going to? They're going to YouTube, and they're going to Facebook, and they're going to Instagram. They're looking for all this, and all this talent has come out, and people have found other ways to entertain. And those are the people who are probably paid worst in the world, job wise, and do worse financially than most, and they're doing it. I see people here in Galway, and they're doing their Facebook Live every Saturday night, and they're and people are waiting. It's just fantastic. Like, where would it be? It's just technology,
it's great.
Right?
And hopefully now that will continue, and it will change things, because obviously you're going to have this mixture of things. We're probably going to be like in a year in the pubs, right? And they'll be saying, what time is the band setting up? And they go, no, it's a Facebook Live gig. And they'll be like, really? And they'll say, he's playing from San Francisco, or I mean, because what will start happening is publicans and proprietors will start to kind of say, well, listen, if that guy could do a Facebook Live gig last year during the COVID, can he not do it now? And we put it on the screen, and maybe pay him a little less, and and especially in smaller venues where there's no stage room or something. So I think you'll see all different ideas coming. It'll never beat a live gig, but I think you'll see different things.
I think it will be used in some ways. Yeah, I think definitely things have changed a bit, but I think really, though, the most thing I hear people saying is, I can't wait to hear some live music, live theatre, live.
I feel what it is. It's a kind of it's like the practicalities of running a pub or any kind of thing. Like everybody wants to go in and spend their money that they've been trying to save and hold on to and not spending. But what happens is when the publicans go back, they'll probably be working to tighter budgets and tighter, deadlines with money and everything. So maybe, I hope not, but maybe it's going to be harder to book gigs, especially in bars, because they'll probably be saying, oh, well, look we're still trying to make money back from last year's loss, so we can't pay as much. So there is going to be change for sure.
I think there will be change. I think, the days of those kind of, I don't know. It's very hard to know. Yeah, I think publicans, I feel so sorry for them. They're in a terrible position, and they're going to be careful with the money, I would imagine. And so it might be just, one guy on his own doing songs. I don't know. It's just, will bands be out of the question? I don't know. It's going to be hard.
You might, especially when you used to go into Galway one time, there'd be a 5-piece cover band, and it might be very hard to get that now, and I hope not. But just unfortunately, these kind of things happen in our, every few generations, and they change things, whether it be the price of drink going up, whether it be taxation or whatever. But this is a huge kind of detriment to our society, and isn't it?
Yeah, big shift. I mean, because it's more than, I know we're kind of known to be the drinkers and all that, but it's more, the pub is more than that. The pub is really more than that in Ireland, and I think people should know that it's just this kind of hub of where people can meet up, and people who are on their own can go up for a pint in the night and just meet somebody and chat, and maybe not have spoken to someone all day. And see somewhere like Campbell's Tavern out in Cloughan there in Headford, and it's the hub of the community is Campbell's Tavern, and all he does what he does out there is amazing. So all these people, it's very tough.
We're going to finish up pretty shortly, but I wanted to ask you about the art centre out near you, this Áras Anna or whatever, because I know
Áras Anna.
Sorry, Áras Anna. Yeah, I know you were doing some work with them and stuff, but that's an interesting story, because that kind of wasn't really an art centre, but it's become an art centre, no? In a way.
Yeah, you're going to catch me up here because I'm not really sure of the ins and outs, but yes, that's right. So Dara, my husband, he runs the art centre out there. He's the creative director out there, and manages Áras Anna. So it wasn't originally intended, I think, to be an art centre, and but it has become one. And so there's a beautiful theatre there, a lovely little theatre, and they do shows and they do music, and also it's a space for artists. So they have an artist residency there. So throughout the year, different people come and they create something, with the Islanders. And it's out in Inisheer, which is the smallest of the Aran Islands out there, and it's just beautiful. So for us it's great. We go out there.
But I think it has great potential, even for bands like yourself and other bands around, to go out there doing gigs and this kind of stuff. I know you'll have to have people that'll be out there, but it's just lovely, isn't it? I think it's a great thing to have those kind of art centres in small rural places.
It's so important. It's so important, and you'd think you'd need people to get on boats to go out there, but actually the Islanders themselves are just love, new stuff that coming to, and you have the most amazing festivals out there, and raves, and but everything's, it just works really well. It's just a lovely, lovely island. We've had great times there, and my husband rents a house out there because he go out for a few days a week. So in the summer, I can spend a lot of time there with my little fella, and the freedom of it. But the art centre is very special. It's a great old place. Yeah, it's where the Rains did their first gig, so it's always going to be.
Well, that's it holds a special place for you as well. So that's great.
It does, yeah.
So listen, you'll probably play us out with a song, but before we get you to do that, what kind of, for this year, what for you personally, I know with the Rains, obviously you have lots of ambitions, and I think you'll do really well, whether it be this year or next year. I think that it could be a slow trail because of COVID, but I think once it kicks off, I think you'll do great, and it'll be brilliant. It'll be great to see you doing well. But for you yourself personally, what kind of ambitions do you have for this year, or aspirations? What are you kind of hoping to do?
Well, the band would be quite high up there in the aspirations, I suppose. But my life is kind of busy. I have an 8-year-old, and he's a busy little lad, and so up to now it's been a lot of homeschooling. He just went back to school.
What's his name? What's your 8-year-old?
Oisín, my little fella is Oisín. And he's 8. He's an amazing artist, and he's a live wire, and he's great. But he's just come back to school, which has just freed me up just this week. And I just realised, oh my God, I have this time to. So I've been trying to, write a little bit and do some things. But this year, definitely focus on the band. Focus on the family, and I work as well. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, Simon, but I work with the Brothers of Charity. So I work with adults with special needs. Okay. So I'm doing Zoom classes with them. Now, normally I go to the centres, and so I would do that 2 or 3 or 4 mornings a week, and so that's amazing. So I'm working on that.
So so
it's good. That's great. It's great out crack, and they're good fun.
Can I ask you with that, like when the classes you're doing, is it through music or is it different?
Music.
Music. Yeah.
So kind of depending on I might have a lot of the class or a small class, and so depending on levels of ability or disability, we write songs and record songs and use instruments and percussion and to try and make music, and it's great. It's been a great learning curve for me with the guys, because sometimes my expectations of music, when I would go into people who I'm singing with all the time, someone will get a harmony and they'll get it and in time, and sometimes with people who maybe don't have that ability to do that, you kind of have to drop your expectations, but not in a bad way. It's really good. You think, okay, this is great, and you can forgive a tambourine that's out of beat, or you know what I mean.
Well, I think in those cases, there's nobody judging, and you've got to. I mean, for anybody, any able-bodied person, it's very hard sometimes to learn an instrument, and people don't have the patience or whatever. So I think, of course, obviously, the less ability you have, maybe percussion instruments are kind of the limit for you. But I mean, it's great because they still have melody inside them, and they still have the percussion, and there's a lot going on there, no?
Oh my God! Sometimes you just would be amazed at what people can do and how they can move with freedom that I would never have if I had to get up and as you said, we were talking about singing in front of family, but these people are just jumping up and dancing in a beautiful way that it's just
and no qualms about it. They'll just do it.
Not about it.
They'll just do it.
Lovely.
Wow, that's brilliant. Fair play to you. I mean, because sometimes I think people see a side of people, they're working in the music industry, and they don't realize that those people have jobs, because it's very hard to survive in the music industry, and you have to have another job a lot of the time. And when you hear people, doing those kind of jobs, it's brilliant because they're really giving back to society as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I get paid for it too, and
there's nothing wrong with that. But no, I mean, you're doing a great thing, because those people, I guarantee you, once you do that class with them, it brightens up their day. It's not like they're going into maths going, "Oh, I hate this class."
No, that's a good point. It's usually fairly happy. And for me as well, I might be going, oh, and then once I'm off, it's like, I'm invigorated. Yeah.
And sometimes challenging work can be like that. I remember when I used to live for a long time in Tuam, and I was a guitar teacher there, and then I started teaching guitar to the traveller kids, and a lot of them wouldn't have the capabilities really, because culture-wise, a lot of them didn't play instruments. There were some great singers and everything. But the thing was, and even sometimes it would be a struggle, in a normal situation where you say to a settled family, you might say, can you get them a guitar, and you have to get this guitar. But sometimes in the traveller families, they couldn't get the guitar for different reasons. And sometimes you could be teaching the same child for 6 weeks and they still wouldn't have a guitar. So they were only learning while they were in the class, only that day.
Right.
It was very challenging. And I recorded an album with some traveller kids in Portumna. And the thing was, you see a different side, and you see kind of when people don't have the resources or the instruments, how they make it work. and even if they're not great singers, how they can make it work and how you can make it work for them. So it's great.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a win-win, really, isn't it?
It's a win-win. It's a great thing, you know. And so, I mean, that's great. Fair play to you. So I think, you know, to see us out, you might do us a song. And, you know, I want to say thank you, Ruth, for coming on. I enjoyed you when you were on at Christmas, and I said I have to have the girls on again. But this time I said I was going to bring you on separately because, you know, it's just to hear each of your stories, you know, and it's great. And I mean, you've had an interesting life so far, and it's going to be more interesting, I hope and I imagine. So
I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
But yeah, fair play to you, and best of luck with everything, with your own music and with the rains and everything that's coming in the next year or so. And we want to thank you for coming on the show again, and we hope to see you sometime in the future. So what are you going to play us out with?
Well, I don't know. Let me think. Thanks for having me, Simon. I've loved chatting to you. It was great to have a chat all together. So I might do. So I was in a bluegrass band a few years ago, and called the Molly Hicks, and it was pure bluegrass. And so I kind of wrote a few songs in that style, you know. So I might do something like that for the crack. Yeah, this is called "Honey, You Can't Be My Darling Now."
Okay. Wow, wonderful.
Thank you.
Nice, Ruth. Thank you very much. Simon. And it was a pleasure having you, and we will see you again soon. Ruth Dillon, everybody. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you, Simon. Great chatting.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. That was Ruth Dillon. I hope everything goes really well for you this year, Ruth. And that was a very interesting conversation. And you gave us some great insight into your life and how a singer-songwriter is in this modern age. So we want to thank you very much for that. And we wish you all the best. Okay, moving on to next week's guest. Next week's guest is John Spillane. So John Spillane is a musician, songwriter, performer, recording artist, storyteller, poet, and a dreamer. A two-time Meteor Award winner for Best Folk Trad Act, John is one of the most accomplished songwriters in Ireland. With an extensive back catalogue beginning with the 1997 album The Wells of the World, his songs have been covered by Christy Moore, Sharon Shannon, Sean Keane, and many others. 12 albums later, John is set to release his first independent album in 20 years, 100 Snow White Horses. So we look forward to that interview, and we hope you'll join us on the Collective Whisper podcast. My name is Simon Kay. Thank you very much for being with us, and take care of yourself and look after everyone else, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.